مرحبا Habibis.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As always, Habibis, to catch the full episode and conversation with Drew Holden, subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/Habibi Bros.
You get it down on the link in below. Lower than Dan's mom.
That could be anything from, I called poison control because my tummy is upset after taking my medication, to someone actually taking medicine that was intended for a horse and the dosage intended for a horse. They show up in the ER. But the idea that there could be so many people who have made this mistake, that they are flooding, and so many people in the same area, that they are flooding a hospital ICU beds, that they can't possibly treat people with life-threatening. Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What's going on, Habibis? I'm Siraj Hashmi.
I'm Mujahed Kobbe.
And we're the Habibi Bros. Welcome to another episode of Habibi Power Hour Premium. We actually pre-recorded this shit because Jay, you'll be fasting for Yom Kippur. Is that not true?
Oh yeah, of course. Right? I love Jewish Eid.
It's Jewish.
Yeah, we got a whole roasted pork on the ready because like my girlfriend's Filipino and she respects my religion and she wants to roast a whole pig for me later.
Yeah, but wait, your religion? I thought you were the head of the Church of Ass Eating.
Right, that's why I eat pig. Ass first. The whole thing. Straight in.
Well, let's get to our guest. So we were actually very honored to bring Drew Holden. Drew, get in here. What's happening, Habibi?
Boys, pleasure's mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Drew is on Twitter. You can find him at Drew Holden 360. Did I get that right?
That's right. You got it. Yeah, I'm only on Twitter, it seems, these days. That's my entire life. I have a website. I should do all of these things.
Drew, I mean, how have you not? I mean, for those who are not familiar with Drew's work, he has sort of made it his brand. This is how one of the Habibis described it. Said Drew Holden is a Siraj put-in effort. That is the summary of Drew Holden. He calls out everybody, specifically within the media, calls out the bullshit, but he does it in a very methodical and precise way through the list, through not his list, but through his threads. And so, Drew, first of all, what got you into doing this?
Yeah, so I remember the first one I did was probably like a year and a half ago, and it was after Don Imus died, and I saw all of these obituaries that just shit on him mercilessly, and I was like, man, that like I don't think we used to do that. Like once upon a time, even people we didn't really like, we would have at least enough respect for to not like trash them in their obituary, right? And so I went back and I did a side by side. Mind you, it wasn't like all done up the way that they are now, but it was a side by side of his obituary versus I'm forgetting his name, the general that Trump took out with the drone strike.
Oh yes,
Siraj, a friend of yours, right? Yeah, so isn't he like a relative of yours or something?
Whoa, wait, me or Jay?
Well, it was my relative and Siraj's best friend.
Yeah, that's
right. That's what it was. So I compared a side by side of like how the media talked about them, and I was like, guys, this sucks, right? Like you don't have to like the guy, you don't have to love Don Imus. Obviously, he said some shit that was pretty messed up. Whatever, fine. But like he can't be as bad as like a ruthless murdering evil person.
Yeah, so like Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi,
like a bunch of shit. Yes. Exactly, like all that sort of shit. And so I did those side by sides, and it kind of caught on. And I was like, oh shit, the media's all lost their mind because of Trump. There's probably stuff like this everywhere, right? Left and right, there's going to be stupid hypocrisy. And so similar to Siraj's list in a lot of ways, I just kind of started cataloging them. And every so often, when something got super ridiculous, I would throw it up on Twitter, and it just kind of went from there.
That's awesome because we'll actually know the difference between me and Drew tonight, as his camera will probably never go out of focus.
Right. It's going to happen multiple times for Siraj. That's exactly what it is.
Incredible. Amazing. Yeah, mine might, but probably not.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, dude, it was like, and so it started with that, and then there's been a few that are just like, I don't know, the ivermectin thing from like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever, when the media was all talking. Like, I remember that story came out, and I was like, all right, guys, this is obviously bullshit. This is a hoax. They're running with it. And so I just took a bunch of screenshots and then at least attempted to roast them after the fact when it became clear that they were pushing this narrative that like wasn't even remotely true, right? Was more or less completely invented.
Yeah, so
Right.
that question and that question from the beginning about what kind of got you to start these side by side comparisons, that actually comes from one of our demigod Habibis, Habibi, who is known for completely destroying me on Twitter and in the chat. Before I ask a follow-up question, what is do you have anyone have you started a cult yet?
I have not started a cult yet. I think I'd be a really shitty cult leader, but no.
You could call them. You can call them your little threaders.
I could call them the threaders. I know.
Exactly.
I know. I should, right? Like what it comes down to is I should. Like there's enough people kicking around probably DC who would like, I don't know if they'd pay me $100 a month or whatever, but like they would surely there's a way to capture these people.
Absolutely. You essentially 100% have to
100%.
Sorry, Jay, I'm not drinking tonight.
I really should.
You always do this to me every single time. It's supposed to be up. There you go.
I'm glad Drew's, at least the Siraj with effort is drinking tonight.
What Siraj with effort.
Exactly.
He came on. He got on 5 minutes early to his own show, and he's like, I never get praised for being extra early. He's like 5 minutes early.
Again, the effort thing. So I'll be honest with you, dude. These things do kind of take like a shit ton of effort. Like I really do invest like time and energy and whatever into doing them. They're not as cool, they're not as snappy, but like.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and like the threads are very good because, and I'm surprised you haven't like monetize the shit out of this yet, because it gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
It's already got, I mean, it's gotten you media hits. I mean, I mean, not to toot their own horn, because not like we're like anyone, but you are here with us.
You're here on Habibi Bros. Exactly.
This is the only reason
you already converted into Islam. I mean, look at you. Look at you.
Exactly. You don't care what I have to say about
a thicker beard than me.
Pop off on Twitter about.
Exactly right. I mean, it's everything.
And this is recently shaved.
A lot more effort. Was on time. I mean.
Always. Siraj mentioned the other day the ambiguous facial hair club that he and I both belong to, and I was like, if he's gonna call me out for not having a clear beard, I was like mentally trying to stimulate more growth.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. I have what's called trichotillomania, in which I pick hair to relieve stress, which is really it's a compulsive disorder.
It's a made up thing.
It's a made up thing. I say as an excuse to pluck hair, but basically that's the only reason why I shave at all, is because I make it so patchy.
You don't have the full.
I have to nuke it. I have to nuke it and start from scratch. But
that probably would look heinous otherwise.
Bro, it looks so bad.
He does it. You can just watch him do it sometimes when we're doing the show and stuff. He just plucking
it's
away.
Really bad.
It's just going.
It's so bad. But I have a follow-up question from Habibi, because they're actually, it's interesting. We'll do the questions in the beginning, and then we'll talk about some of the stories that's happening this week. So, with respect to your threads, what are your future goals in that area?
It's a good question. So I guess the short answer is I don't really know. Like the threads kind of took off, and I never given them much thought as like a thing, or about like, obviously I haven't monetized any of it. So like I haven't really thought through it in the ways that I probably should. I like the media criticism thing. I don't think enough people are doing good media criticism. Like I think it's something that like conservatives kind of play at, but they mostly do it in like a Ben Shapiro slam stupid mainstream media once again.
Right.
Like we can probably do like a little bit better than that. And so I kind of want to do that, and I don't really know how I do that. But like the long term is, I think there's a huge avenue where liberals aren't holding the media accountable because like it's their friends and pals and them and whatever, right? So they don't care. And conservatives aren't doing it in a way that does anything other than try and score clicks by cool dunks. And so somewhere within those two things, I think is a pretty broad lane. And so I want to find a way to capture that lane. But I'm lazy when it comes to these sorts of things, and I would much rather like invest the time to like get shots for a new thread than figure out a way to actually build something and do that.
That's why
is the unsatisfying but real answer.
That's why you need threaders. I mean,
this is why I need a cult so people can just pay me to figure this out.
Well, not only pay you, they will just screenshot for you and give you that content to thread. I mean, Siraj maybe picks one or two himself, and then he has a army of Habibis that go ahead and send him everything else.
Smart, yeah.
We got
like 17 hours of sleep a night schedule.
Get yourself an intern and then just like call me China his ass until oblivion.
Amazing. Yeah.
That's exactly. I have him scared that he's going to be fired every other day, and then boom.
Utterly terrified. Yeah, there's got to be some like Hill intern who's already working for free who would totally do this for free.
I'm not sure how I went out of focus
why I need
again.
You guys. I never even thought about this.
Not sure how I went out of focus again, but I'm definitely.
You have like a 1998 camera.
Bro, I have like a Logitech Pro they're like a 1080p camera that is supposed to automatically focus on you. What the fuck is this? Turn off the background blur.
This has got to be. It's like the FBI or the CIA just crossing your wires.
Just fucking with you. It's your FBI.
Honestly, that would make the most sense to me. That would make the most sense to me. I got a couple other questions from the Habibis. First of which is this is from Damon. He says, please ask him to never do a thread on me. Damon is also known as Brooklyn Dad, in case you're not familiar. He's just a dad who happens to be from Brooklyn. But he also wanted to ask you which one of your threads that you've done is your favorite or most satisfying.
My favorite. I think my favorite one was probably, so I did a thread a while back about the Steele dossier. So I'm sure you guys remember the dirty dossier. It had supposedly it had P-tape about Trump, yada yada yada. And so
which is real. I mean,
it got completely. Yes,
I mean the P-tape of Jay.
I'm sure there's all sorts of weird stuff out there. Yes, exactly. There's got to be that is probably the most mundane of the.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if it came out tomorrow and everybody's like, "What the fuck?" I'd be like.
Would you blink? I wouldn't blink. I wouldn't even be the slightest.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't even be able to be like saying, no, that's not me. Everybody be like,
yeah,
no,
exactly.
That is you. Like, and you're smiling a lot.
Jay, you could be completely
shaven. You have, like, your license out next to you to like prove that.
My name is Mujahed Kobbe.
It's me. Yeah, I don't know that you're playing much defense on that one. But anyway, so I did the Steele dossier after it got like truly blown up, right? And people fetishize this thing for so long, and it was like they kind of made a mockery about the reporting on it, right? The New Yorker had this like super deep dive about how believable it was, or all these people on Twitter. Obviously, Jen Rubin, one of our favorite people on the internet, was a big proponent of this, who just went to the mat. True queen, right? Like, of all my favorite Republican psyops on the internet, she's the CIA controls her account. That's the only way it makes sense. But I posted that one. That was one where at the end of it, I was like, I've been waiting so long, right? So long to get these people and gut these people for this lie. So that's probably the only one that comes close that I also waited on a long time was the Andrew Cuomo thread. I had a lot of screenshots for a long time about people and outlets praising Cuomo. There's a Los Angeles Times piece, straight news. Like they ran this as like an actual news story, and it was titled Andrew Cuomo embraces term Cuomo-sexual. That was it. That was news.
I remember that, yeah.
And I remember I saw all these and I was like, I cannot wait. Because eventually it was like, obviously they're going to turn on this guy. Like, it's been a widely known secret across all of New York for decades that this dude is a scumbag. And so eventually something's going to trip him up. And so that one, after God, probably like a year of just kind of squinting at screenshots, I was eventually like, okay, this is it. He's going to resign. Time to post a thread. So that honestly, because I can't stand him so much, that might have been the most satisfying.
Yeah, I have a. What's funny is because when the reckoning or the revelations about Cuomo came out, or Cuomo as Jay calls him, we
Yeah,
I had
right.
yeah I had done a list on Cuomo, and I was like,
Yes.
God, I can't. I was looking at your thread. I was like, fuck, he already did it. It is literally Drew came through and literally just did the list for me. That's basically how it went.
That was
That's how it
one where
went
I think
down.
I had covered. It was so bad. It was so bad. I mean, with the Cuomo sexual tweets, obviously, I think it's probably all three of our favorite tweet on the history of the internet is the boyfriend looks nice and the kids
Oh
have
my
all eaten their
God.
spaghetti. Jen Rubin like
Spaghetti and
thirsty
meatballs.
replying to Andrew Cuomo.
So bad.
Saw that tweet and I was like, one day, Jen, one day, like we will meet again on the other side. And I probably got saved on my phone like 15 times across a bunch of different folders and everywhere else. I love it. I think it lives rent free in my head. I think about it every day. It brings me so much joy.
So
What's the
final
longest-
question. What was that,
No,
Jay?
I
What
was
were
going
you
to ask. I mean, because it took a whole year for that to happen. You're just taking screenshots after screenshot, and like knowing it was going to
Yeah.
happen, or like having an intuition. What's the longest screenshot you've ever held, or do you have one now?
That's a
saying? The
good
longest screenshot.
question. I mean,
Just waiting for the time to do that side by side.
the longest I've waited to do a full thread has definitely been Cuomo. Because there are a few times where I was like, ooh, maybe now I should post it. Like, ooh, something bad came up. The New York Attorney General is investigating. Maybe now's the time. So that's probably the longest I've waited to do a thread. In terms of just screenshots, I would say there's a few that I've still got that I've been marinating on that are about China and the way that media outlets have reported on China. That a few that are a few years old. And so there's a couple of those where like if I were to bring them back up tomorrow, it would be like, ooh, icky, this doesn't really feel good. But the thinking is in a couple of years, when things really go bunk on US-China relations, and we can look back at the way that the corporate press talked about the China and the Chinese government during the coronavirus, before the coronavirus, those are like in the vault. Like those are the ones that are like they're tucked away for years and years and years. So those are probably the vintage wine of the screenshots that I've got.
Beautiful. Drew, just a couple. For one, you have an iPhone, right? Yeah, I mean, you have AirPods, right? And I can see you right in your ears.
I do.
Right? Open up your phone and go to your Photos app and scroll down under albums. Go to your screenshots. How many screenshots do you have? And
oh boy, sorry, I'm recording. I always record on my phone.
He has more problems than us,
I didn't think about how that would cause me to go away.
You're actually on your phone.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Wow. That's hella boomerish.
On my phone. I don't know if my audio is back. Oh, dude, I love it. My laptop my laptop camera is not very good. I now see myself still spinning.
So, dude, you gotta monetize your shit. You gotta monetize. You gotta monetize your shit so that you can actually spend that money on a new camera.
Oh, look at this, and the Sirajness comes into play.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Drew and I are more alike than not.
As soon as I confidently predicted, I said so confidently early on, I was like, "That's never gonna happen to my phone." And look what I do, like an idiot.
Well,
I don't know.
In your defense, Drew, you still have a better camera than me, despite the fact that you are using it
just on an iPhone,
exclusively from an iPhone. So I'll give you that. But I will tell you how many screenshots I have, and that's 23,403 just on this phone. I don't know if that's high or low, but that's just basically that's how many.
23,000? Are you kidding me?
I'm not shitting you at all.
Wow.
He needs to have
I counted once, and I think I was at 10,000. So you've got me beat pretty considerably. But some of these threads will be like, I don't know, there'll be like, I'll have like 70 individual screenshots in one thread.
And yeah, like I couldn't do that. I mean, the longest thread I just did was this 69 tweet list tournament, and that is just endless. It
amazing.
But I have one more question before we get in before we get into the stories for the week. One last question. This is from Carl, who goes by None the Wiser. He asks, has anyone ever reached out in anger to you after being the subject of a side-by-side or one of your threads?
Yeah, so I've been called out. So I've deleted one ever that I just like screwed up. Like I rushed, I thought I had a dunk and I didn't have a dunk. And it was Ian Bremer, who runs the Erasure group, I guess. And so he replied and I deleted the tweet from the thread. Every so often I'll get like, I don't get it, or like, why are you doing this? From people, but usually they're like smaller accounts or like smaller journalists or whatever. But yeah, usually I don't. The only person who has ever really gotten mad at me about any of it is Keith Olbermann, because of course, like as the most deranged person on the internet, like he lost his ever loving mind once. I got a very nice response, not nice in the way that our nice is nice, but like a kind response from Joe Walsh once. But yeah,
Joe Walsh is surprisingly nice.
I just get the mute button.
Joe Walsh is surprisingly
nice. He was like
nice.
super pleasant, and like I didn't agree with his response, but yeah, he was. Yeah, he's kind of like a walking pillar of hypocrisy. So I think he kind of gets like, I think he's kind of in on the joke, right? Like I think he has to know that if he was we're gonna pick up our muskets guy, and now he's like this woke Republican wannabe sort of person, like he's got to know somehow deep down that like he's gonna get hits for it.
Yeah,
but yeah, just Olbermann. The only angry person ever was Keith Olbermann, who seems to be permanently angry.
Yeah, I did know this though, and this is the thing that really makes me jealous, is that you've gotten responses from Jen Rubin, which I never have done. I've never gotten a response from our queen, and so I forever look like a Jen Rubin simp for constantly trying to list her, and she never responds. I have to be muted. I just have to.
True. It's true. But she hasn't blocked you, right? Because she hasn't blocked me either.
No, she hasn't blocked me.
There's still a chance.
Like yeah, I would die. You know how people like when Trump was on Twitter, and those were obviously the good old days. When Trump was on Twitter and everyone was like thirsty to get a Trump. When people were thirsty to get a Trump retweet, I was thirsty for a Jen Rubin reply. Yes. Never got it.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. Oh, that sucks. I got one. I'm trying to think what I like called her and this other guy out, and I think Rubin's response was, "Who is this person?" And then he replied, and he was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "I hate you both." But I think it was about her meatballs tweet, and I was like, "Jen, maybe sit this one out." I don't know. Of all the things that you really want to get into it, like, is the simping for Cuomo really where you want to go? I'm a Cuomo Democrat. So it was a headline of a piece she wrote on the deck.
I remember that.
Oh my god,
that was so bad.
I don't even remember seeing that. I mean, the simping for Cuomo was out of this fucking world. So I'm sure you had like plenty of material to go by with it. It was just insane that they would go that far for this guy just to have someone that they say is better than Trump in some way. I mean, that's exactly what it was. And now that it was completely useless, they're like, "Oh, you remember what happened 4 years ago? Oh, this happened like 3 years ago. Oh, this," and it's like magic. Like they magically knew these stories from 4 years ago, from 5 years ago, but they were like silent about them until now. It's just
right. It's like all of a sudden, poof, disappears. And my favorite thing about Cuomo, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, is that like
you are in the Habibi Power Hour.
To be suspicious. Cuomo, love it. Okay, like he was the last national media figure to return his donations from Harvey Weinstein. And originally he rejected calls to return his like $150,000 he got from Weinstein and Weinstein's company. Like, dude, we had every reason to be like, this guy, questionable, dubious, don't really know. He like attacked a female reporter for asking him right after Me Too started. There's a female like State House reporter who asked him, like, what are you going to do to try and hold these powerful men who have been like abusing women to account? And he was like, he said, what was it? He's like, you're asking that question is an embarrassment to journalism. That's what he told her. And like, people just brush by these things. I think they like completely forgot that this was a guy who nobody liked. Don't like that man for decades. And you know, all of a sudden, because he's not Trump, he's the savior of the universe. Jen Rubin is complimenting his meatball recipe. Joy-Ann Reid is tweeting every night about how he's like her saving grace. It was MSNBC, man. They're the lunatics.
As always, Habibis, to catch the full episode and conversation with Drew Holden, subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/Habibi Bros.
You get it down on the link and below. Lower than Dan's mom.